Hello everyone, it's Professor Sadiq Noor, and today in my video number 2 regarding how to querying a database. So today's video I'm gonna demonstrate to you how to use query in a database. So the objective of the video is to help you add a file to the design grid, use a text and numeric data in a criteria, use a wildcard in a query, hide a field in a query, require a parameter for a query, use a compound criteria in a query, sort the data in a query results, join the table in a query, create a report from a query, print the form or the report, create a form from a query, export the data from a query to another application, require a query to group or perform calculation on a results, create a cross-tab queries, and finally is to customize the navigation pane. So the question is, one of the primary benefits of using a database management system such as Access is having the ability to find answers to questions related to the data stored in the database. When you pose a question to Access or any other database management system, the question is called a query. So a query is simply a question present in a way that Access can process. All right. So let's start. I will go to search. And as you see, I already have Access in my computer. I will click on it. So when you start Access, this is the welcome screen. And it says good morning. And then from there, you will have to start with the blank database, right? Or we have to use the previous database that we created, right? So to do that, what we need to do now is that we have to start the database in the folder. So let's go to open. Let's go to browse. Now I will try to put this file in the comment section. Download. I have to scroll down. And then this is my data files. So chapter number 2. And then go to modules. And then we want to open the SC underscore 021. And then click open. And then always when you open a new database or an existing database, you might see this yellow stuff here about security warning. Always you have to say enable. Click on the enable button. So once we have started this, now we have to name this database, right? So we're gonna go to file, save as, save the database as, and then I will click save. Then I will go to my desktop and then I will save it under one of these folder here. And then we're gonna call it sc underscore ac sc underscore sc o2, and then we're gonna say underscore partners, and then click save. And then we have to enable it again. Now, the first thing is we have to empty the cell below SO3 to enter a new seller ID. So to do that, we have to go to the sellers the tables. These are tables. Queries already been done here. Seller form and seller report. So seller, double click it. And then we have this information. So we're gonna type here add. We need to add a couple more. So I will close this pane here. And then we're gonna type now the information. I will try to zoom, increase the size a little bit. Then you can stretch the columns, double click it, go to the right of the column and double click it to stretch it. All right. So we need to add a couple more record now in our database, in our table. And the database name is partners 04. And Nadia, Sutherland, and then 717 dash 555 dash 7028. Right? You can tap it. You can use the right arrow to move to the next cell. Then our email at example.com. You can stretch the column if some of the stuff is cutting off. Just double click it. Marte, comma, PA 15. Ellie Michelle Michelin Michelin partners, and then pay by check to seller. The next one is SO 005. Eight one four dash 2587 AB 249. So I'm adding these a couple of records to the table sellers. Still, we did not started using the query. So first we need to add this record. Direct deposit to Main Street Bank. So I will move here. Right. There you go. So I will wait for a few seconds if you are typing this information. Now we're gonna add one last one. Eight seven 98. Press the enter key. The email. New Beach, New York. Partners. And then direct deposit to Citibank. So that ends my four entries that we add there. So now we have to close it, save it, and close it. So hit the floppy disk. Now close the table. Let's open the properties table and let's add those information here too. So we're gonna add a couple more here too. So let me increase the size of the font. I will stretch it. Go to the right of the column and double click it. So P-4, P-4 is commercial. One 86 Alabama. Hartford. PA. 15031 is the postal code. Is Hartford. City. County is S. So the next one we want to do is P. So dash 005. So we need to add all these 00 with it. Just go over the cell and just click inside the cell and add the 2 zeros. Next one is residential. $15, comma, box 281. That one is Winslow, New York 10043. The postal code. The jurisdiction is Putnam County. And the seller ID is, so we are associating actually the seller ID with the properties that he's taking care of it. Now the last one. Residential. Georgetown. Georgetown Road, comma, number, the hash 2. So I will stretch it. The city is East Bernard. Bernard. is the PA, is the state 15064. The county is Fairfield, Fairfield County, and the seller ID is S006. So we have done with that. Now we have to save it. Go to the floppy, the quick access toolbar. These are your tabs. This is your ribbon, right? So close it. From my previous video, one related to access, I did explain to you these here is what we call the tabs. And these ones here is your ribbon. The ribbon consists of groups, and the groups has names, right? So this is the group name, group name, group name. So when you change the tab, the ribbon is also gonna change. This one here is your navigation pane or the object window. And then this one here is your status bar, right? A status bar, all right. Now we need to open the buyers table, which is the first one. I will increase the size. I will stretch the column until you see the black split arrow. Now this will be one record only. Rear space Sumner. Just go back to the cell, double click it, and then move your cursor or your pointer to the text to the letter that you wanna remove. Eight, 368. The email is RIYAS example.com. Laura Rosario. Then we have to save it. And then we have to close it. Now we're gonna create a query in a design view. As you have seen in my first video about access, we already used the simple query wizard to create a query, right? Most of the time, however, you will use the design view when which is the primary option for the creating queries, right? So to do that, we're gonna go to create tab, as you see the ribbon change. Then the third group is query, and then we're gonna go to the query design, right? Because the query design is the primary option for creating queries. So I will start creating it. Click on it. Once you clicked on it, now you are inside the query. Now remember, in this area, you will have your table will be listed. Any table that you want to ask the question from. So the table will be in the gray area above. And the grid, this is your grid. The grid in a query will be consist of the field, the table that the column is coming from. You can sort it. You can show any of the column, or you don't want to show it, you can just remove the checksum from the box. Then the most important here in the query is your criteria, your condition, what you wanna, what kind of record you wanna pull up, what kind of question you wanna ask, access. So any complex question you have to put it underneath the column you wanna ask the question, but it has to be under the criteria or, right? So I will demonstrate all this to you. Now, the next thing here is, as you see here, this is a new query, right? There is no field listed here. There's no table at all. And then if you look in the right hand side, this is the list of tables that you could ask question from, right? So it's up to you, like which table you wanna ask the question. So we wanna use the closing one. So you will go to the closing and you will double click it to edit. Or you can select and you can say add the selected table if you don't want to double click it. So you can just select and then click on add selected table, right? So once we added the table, now we have to close the add table. Now, mistakenly, if you have closed it and then you want to pull it back, so you see here under the query setup group, there is something here says in the left of it is add table. So if you click it, it's gonna open the pane for the add tables, right? And then from here you can choose your table you want to use for your query. Now you can move this. You see the black arrow, you can move it up, and then you can stretch this to see all the columns. So you're gonna add the columns you wanna use for your question, right? Now, next we wanna do here is, now as you see here, I have what we call the asterisk sign, right? So the asterisk, if you double click it, it means to include everything you wanna see inside the table. So all the record you want will be displayed, right? So in this case, what we want to do is we want to add the field to the grid, to the design grid. That's the design grid here, right? So to add, you will need to double click the columns, the field from the table closing, and they're gonna add up in the design grid as shown here. You will double click it. As you see, I double clicked it, it added, and then we need the closing date. I need the payoff amount. Double click it. We want the payoff mortgage. pay off mortgage, pay off mortgage company ID, and then we need the new loan amount. Double click it to add it to the design grid, and then we are looking for purchasing mortgage company ID, right? So that's what I want, and then I want the buyer ID. Double click it. So once you added all the field that you're gonna ask question about it, now the next is to determine your criteria, your condition, right? So which one you are looking at? Your condition, your criteria can be a text data can be used in the criterion. It could be a number. So different kinds you can use. So in this case, we're gonna use a text data in a criterion. So to use a text data in a criteria, simply you will type the text in the criteria row below the corresponding field name. So what you're gonna do, simply you're gonna type the text in the criteria row below the corresponding field name, just as you did in the in our previous chapter or the previous video, right? So to do that, now we're gonna find out under the criteria, and I wanna look for uh, the purchasing mortgage company ID. So is M dash 002. That's the one I'm looking at, right? So under the criteria, so be sure it has to be the criteria row. You have to type your condition, your criterion, as you see. I put it here, and then it's underneath the column, the field. You want to ask the question about it. So we want to pull up all the record of the purchasing mortgage company ID M-002. Once you do that, then you have to click run to execute the query to show you if there are record matching your criterion, these criteria here. So I will now hit the run as I show you earlier under the result group, and they are under the design, query design tab in the right of the help run. Once you hit the run, it pull up this information. So you have the CID number, the customer ID, closing date, payoff, the payoff mid, and the loan, purchase, and then the buyer ID, right? So in this case, it satisfies your criteria. Why? Because see here, what you got is the purchase you asked for, the M002, right? So once you have done that, now we're gonna save it. We have to save the query. So to save the query, we will go back. You see here. Now I will hit save from the floppy disk because it's query one, right? So it's just a new query. So you will go to floppy, and then we're gonna call this one. You can name it anything you want. So that's manageable 2, like it's chapter number 2, and then query number 1. You can name it as query related to purchase, and then M002, you can say that. So as you see now, one query has been added under the query list. All right. Now, what we want to do now, we can also use, we will close it now. Once you're done, close it. Hmm. Now the next is to use a wild card. Wild card. Microsoft's Access support wildcard like wildcards are symbols that represent any character or combine or a combination of characters. One common wildcard is the asterisk, which represent any collection of characters, whereas the other one is the question mark, which represent any individual characters. So in Access, support two wildcard, right? Wild card, right? So one of it is the asterisk, the multiplication sign, and the other one is the question mark. So the difference between these two guys is that the asterisk represent any collection of characters or a combination of characters, whereas the question mark represent any individual characters, right? So let's use the wildcard in my next exercise to show you how you're gonna pull up different kinds of uh, records. So for example, why we use the wildcard is, let's say if your boss says, can you find all those employees whose first name start with an S, but I don't know what the other combination of the characters is, so I will use the star. So actually I will say S is the name, start with S, but I don't know what is the remaining letter after S, right? So if your boss says, "Can you get me uh, all those businesses that ends with university?" But I don't know what the beginning. It could be different kinds. It could be Coppin State University. It could be Morgan uh, State University. It could be Loyola University. So all these universities, right? So what you're gonna do in this case, you will put the star in the beginning because you don't know what the beginning of the university name is, and then you're gonna put university at the end. All right? Very simple. So that's help us to pull up a bunch of information instead of getting only specific ones, right? So the question mark, like if you have you wanna find the employee who has only whose name is only three letters, three characters, like, so you will put the question mark like this under the column name. So you're gonna get all the employees names who have three letters, the max and the minimum is one, right, with the question mark. So the question mark represent any individual character, whereas the wildcard represent any collection of character, right? Any collection. So it could be like any collection of characters is the wild card. So the wild card is the most important that we use in Access, which you're gonna show. I will show you how to use it. So for this, we will go to the properties now, right? So we're gonna go to create, query design. This time I will double click the properties and then I will close the add table pane. I will stretch it so I can see what columns I have in this table. And then I can move the design grid a little bit up. All right. Now, in this query, I will use the property ID. So double click it. Property street, double click it. We are looking for property city, double click it. We are looking for property state, double click it. And then we are looking for the seller ID. And now We are looking for the property state under the criteria. See the criteria row? But underneath the column property state, I'm looking for the property state that starts with a P, but I don't know what is the remaining characters, right? So I put the star, the wildcard. Now I'm gonna run it. Use the run to execute the query to pull up what you asked for. So run it. You got all the properties fall under the PA. You ask for a PA. And these are the cities, these are the states, these are the property ID, these are the seller ID. All right. So we need to save it. So obviously I will go to file because it's a new query. I will go to floppy disk, the save from the quick launch toolbar, and we're gonna call this one as properties space query and click OK. So the property query is already here, right? So we will say okay. We can name it another name. We will say one and click OK. So obviously what they meant to do was to open this query here. See, double click it to open it and then go to the design. Now if you open a query and you wanna go to the query design, you will click here and then you will go to design. It's gonna open the same thing I was showing you, and then you will have to put P and the star. That's actually what they want us to use, and then run it. As you see that it pull up there. So I will save it. Now if you open this one, see here in this one, it's all mixed together. I have PANY. So only we wanna pull up the state who are what? PA. So you will go to the design and you see I don't have anything here. So I will go here in the criteria and underneath the property state and I will type P and the star and then run it. As you see, we got it. Now, what we can do is we can save it, right? Or we can save it with a different name, right? Because we don't want to overwrite the property queries. You see that? If I hit the save, then it's going to overwrite the previous one we did. So what we're going to do in this case, you will go to File, Save As, Save Object, because the query is an object. Save Object As, click Save. Now we need to change this, highlight, and we want to save these as M02 query 02. And we're going to save it as a query and then click OK. Right? So I will delete this one because that's the same as this one here. Just I show you to how to you're going to start a new query. That's why. So I will delete this. All right. Select and delete. Now the next is to use criteria for a field not included in the results. To use a query for a field not included in the results. In some cases, you might require a criteria for a particular field that should not appear in the query results, right? So to do that, what we're gonna do is we're gonna close here first this one from the tab. Now we wanna open the seller query, double click it. And then let's go now. If you don't want to open in a data sheet view, look here, data sheet to see the result of the query. You can just straight go to the design, do right click on it, and then design view. It's gonna open the design of the query. All right. So in this case, what we want is we want to go to the phone number and we want to find out the phone number. We start with 267, and I don't know what the remaining digits are, so I will put the wild card, the star, right? So I know the beginning is 267, but I don't know what the remaining cell phone number is, the remaining characters, right? So once we do this, let's run it. So these are the two guys here, Ria Sumner and Alyssa, and then it satisfies your criteria 267, and then you get the remaining, right? So if you go back to the design, you will see that whenever you have something like a text, always is gonna be like Access will put the like word, so don't delete it. So I didn't put that, is automatically Access is gonna put that, right? So the next one we can say, what if you wanna find we want to use a field, but for a field not included in the result. So I don't want to see it, but I want to find out this 267. Who is that? So you will remove the checksum from the show, and then you will run it. It's still I got what you asked for, but I don't want to see the phone numbers. See, the column for the cell phone is not there for the cellular phone. So if you go back and you check the box here, means I want to see it. Show me. As you see now, I got the font for each of the sellers. All right. Now, you can also change it. You can go here. You can delete it. And then you can say, I want 814, but I don't know what the remaining digits are of the font. I will run it. As you see here, 814 was your beginning. And then we received, so now we're gonna go back, and then we wanna change it back to what they ask us to put. The 267, 267, and the star, right? Now run it. Now, also, we don't want to see the font, so you're gonna go back and remove the show from the seller form. I don't want to see the form, but I want to see the seller name, seller email, and the seller real estate agent, right? Now run it. I don't see it. But the condition I used for that phone number, but I don't want to see the phone number displayed also. Now we want to save as this query because I'm using the existing seller query, right? So don't hit the save key. If you did that, then whatever your previous stuff is going to be overwritten, right? So be sure that you go to File, Save As, Save Object As. Now click Save, and then we're going to name this one as MO2 query 03. That's our third query, and then click OK. Perfect. Now, if we click on this one to see what we have in this, we have the existing one. So I did not override it. I have my own here. Look. All right. So always you have to do save as. If you are using the existing query but you are asking different question about it, then be sure that you click on file save as an object, right? So the second one I'm gonna use here is very much interesting. We call it the parameter query. So the parameter query. Now, if you want to find properties located in New York, you will either have to create a new query and then you have to say N and they start to find you only the New York. So what if you wanna also find properties in PA, right? So I have to delete the N star that I did for New York. Now I have to go to the design and I have to put what? P and the star. So that's like too much. So what we're gonna use is the query will be a great way of it's gonna pop like a menu on the screen and then like a message box and then you have to enter whatever the state that you wanna view the properties and so on. So the parameter query will give you like a paralegals at the partner law firm and the ability to enter a different state each time they run the query, rather than having a specific state as part of the criterion in the query, right? So let me show you how to create the parameter query. So to do that, we have to create a new query. So I will go to create. We can open the property query. So we already have it. See the property query here. Right click on it, then design view. All right. Now you see where it says property state. So whenever you want to create a parameter query, you will go to the criteria underneath the column property. You will open the square bracket, this one, and then you can write any message you want. So the message will be enter to dash. The message can be anything. Letter code for state, right? And then close the square bracket. Now let's run it. Every time you're gonna get this box, this dialog box, or the dialog box. Now it says enter the two-letter code for the state. That's what you typed here. That's what the user need to know what he or she has to type here. So we're gonna say New York. So we're gonna put NY. See, I got only the states NY. Now, if you go back to the design and then you run it again, now this time I will say PA. Now I got all the PA states. So that's perfect. Instead of going back to the design and then, you have to remove the criterion for New York and then you have to replace by PA or other states. So that's too much work you have to do. But once you create the parameter query, now whenever you run it, it's going to ask you enter the two-letter state and then just type the state and then it's going to pull up that specific state, right? So because we have using the existing property query, so we are not gonna click the save to save this one. We will go back to the file, save as, save the object, click here. Now we're gonna override this by property dash state query. That's the name of my query. And then click OK. So instead of messing with this one, I have my own property state query. Now we have to close the property state, right? Now let's use the parameter query now. Let's say, so I will double click it. It's gonna pop like this. Enter two-letter code for the state, right? So this time I will say PA, for example. It pull up the PA. I will close it. I will show my boss that's what he asked for. And then I can print out this. Now I will run it again. And if you want to know New York, these are the two New Yorks, right? So that's a very important query in Access. So the next one is to use a number in a criterion, right? To enter the number in a criterion, type the number without any dollar sign or commas. You don't need to put any dollar sign or commas, right? If you enter a dollar sign, Access assume you are entering a text, right? So if you enter a comma, Access consider the criterion invalid. So whenever you want to use a number to find anything that has a number in it, so don't put any dollar sign or commas. All right. So let's do that. So we will go for a create a new one. We will go to the create this design query design, and then we will pick now. See here now you are in the tab query, so you don't want to be in the query. You have to go to the table, and then you have to choose closings. Double click it, and then we can close this, and then you gonna stretch it down to see all the column names. All right. And then we are looking for the closing ID. Double click it to add it to the design the grid design grid. All right, you can move this. Now the next one I need is the closing date, and then we are looking for purchasing company, purchasing mortgage, and then we are looking for new loan amount. Double click it. Now we want to find out the new loan closing. So under the criteria, underneath the column new loan amount, I would just type the value I want, the amount I'm looking at. So 325,000. No need for commas, no need for dollar signs. Straight type the number. Now run it. That's when you wanna get any column that has a number. So then this is like a currency, right? The new loan amount. So whenever you want to pull up any kind of column that has a number in it, so just put the number like the way I did and now run it. So as you see, I got what I asked for. Now we're gonna save this query. Now because this is a new query, so no worries. You can just click the floppy, and then we're gonna call this one as M02 M02 Q04, and then I will hit save. Click OK. So now we have 4 queries that we created today. Now we're gonna use the comparison operator in the query. So Access assume that the criteria you enter involve a quality exact matches. In the last query you have seen, we said I wanna find out 325,000, right? So sometime you might say greater 325,000 or less than 325,000, right? Or you might say that I want to find the range of reserve. For example, you could request a closing whose closing date is after April 28, 2027, right? So then we have to use the comparison operator like, let me close this. So the comparison operator, we call them comparison, right? Comparison, comparison operators. Which one they are? The operator are greater than, less than, greater, equal, less than, equal. All right. And also we have one called not. So what if your boss says, I don't want to find all the employees who lives in Baltimore. So you're gonna put under the city, you will put not Baltimore. So you want to see other than Baltimore, right? So we will explore this one in my next uh exercise, right? So for this one, for the comparison, we will create a new query, create query design, and then we're gonna pull up the closing. So go back to the table, change the tab to table, closings, and then you can close the table pane. Now we need to include the closing ID. I'm looking for the closing date. And then I'm looking for the buyer ID, right? So under the criteria, we're gonna we're gonna have we will say greater for the closing date field. So we will say greater, right? Greater for, so greater for before before after 4 after April, right? And then we're gonna put 28 2027. Now let's run it. See the closing date you got. So we said 28, right? So before, so after 27, so we have 29 here, April 29 and 20 and 30, right here. So go back to design. So the closing date after you said the greater means after 4/28, 2027. So we are looking for the record whose closing date will be after April 28, 2027. So run it. We got what we asked for. Now we're gonna hit the floppy because it's query1, so it's not saved yet. And then we're gonna call this one M02Q05. Click OK. Now we're gonna be using compound criteria. Now, what is this compound criteria? Often used search data must satisfy more than one criterion. This type of criterion is called compound criteria. I will repeat again. Once you search data must satisfy more than one criterion. Now this time you are gonna use more than one criteria. This kind of criterion is called compound criterion, right? And it's created by the use of the word and or. You can use and or. So in the end criterion, both individual criterion must be true in order for the compound criteria to be true. So both the condition that you check, you're gonna be checking, it has to be true. The record has to be there in your table. If not, you are not gonna get anything. Whereas the or criterion is true if other individual criteria is true. So if one is true, the other one is not, still you're gonna see something displayed when you're gonna run your query. Now to do that, let's get to create a new one. So this time we're gonna do what? We're gonna use compound. Compound criteria, right? Criteria. Now, the compound criteria consists of two word and or, right? So the compound is used when you wanna you wanna compare or you wanna find multiple condition you wanna check. Your criteria is more than one. So then we have to use what we call the compound criteria, all right? So let's see, let's demonstrate this one. So we're gonna open, create a new one, query design. Now be sure that in the right hand side where it said add table, be sure to click the table because you're gonna be asked a question regarding to the table, not the queries. The queries is what you ask for and then you get the results. So we need the closing. We're gonna stretch it. And then we're gonna add the column closing ID from the table. We are looking the closing date, double click it. We are looking for purchase, mortgage, purchasing, mortgage company ID. And then we are looking for the buyer ID. Now, when you're gonna be using the compound, right? They have to be in the same row, right? So like, but underneath the different columns. So if you want to stretch this one. Now, under the criteria here, I said the closing date under the criteria design should be after 4 April 28, 2027, and under the buyer ID, sorry, purchase, under the purchasing mortgage company ID, we are looking for M-002. So we are looking for the closing date after 4 April 28, 2027, and the purchasing mortgage company ID should be M-002. So if I don't have, if only this one exists in my table closing, but this does not, you are not gonna get anything. It's gonna be zero, blank. when you run your query. So in the AND condition, AND means this when you put them in a same row but underneath the different columns, then that means the compound criteria is AND, right? So we did mention earlier both individual criteria must be true in order for the compound criteria to be true, right? So this both condition has to be true. Now let's run it. Click on the run. We received one of the record here. Is only one record I have that satisfy your condition, right? So let's save it at the floppy from the quick access tool and then M02. You can name it any name you want. It's not like you have to name it what I'm naming. So click OK. So that's number 6. All right. Now we're gonna use the compound criterion involving OR, right? So to do that, for the OR, we're gonna use the same, this one, the same query. So we will go to the design of it, and then we will move this guy, and we will move it to the OR. You see the where is it the OR row, but underneath the mortgage purchasing mortgage company ID. So I'm gonna say M dash 002, and then we will run it now. Okay. So this time I'm saying that it has to be after April 4, 28 to 2027, or pull up those record that has the purchasing mortgage company ID M-002, right? So you have to put it under the row or underneath that column, right? So it's very, very important under the O, all right? And underneath here. And then this one, the criteria I started with here, underneath this one, all right? So this will be the OR. So what we said for the OR condition, it says that is the OR criterion is true if either individual criterion is what? True, right? So if the April 28 is you have record is gonna show you if you have M002 is gonna show up. If it's not there, it's not gonna show up. But this one will show up. So one of them will display something, right? But if you put something in the same like and, then both condition has to be true. Not only one true, the other one is false. But it's still in the or, if one condition doesn't exist but the other one it does, still you're gonna see something, right? So let me demonstrate this to you. As you see now, this is what you asked for, right? And then I have this one, the MO2, and this one, right? But then I have this third one here, the second one, with 003. So that's because of the OR. So, and then this is the date satisfies the condition. You said after the 28th, right? Now we need to save this one because we are using the existing one. So I cannot hit save, right? So what I can do, I can go to File, Save As, Save Object As, Save As, and then I will just delete the copy off and change the 6 to 7 and click OK. So now that's number 7, right? Now you can also use a special criteria like the AND operator, between, right? You can also do that. Let's check if we're gonna do that to just demonstrate to you. So I will close. So let me see what we have. So I'm gonna use the closing again, okay? So I will say create, and I will close all these tabs. Hit the X to close it. So we're gonna go to create, and then we will use the closing, and then we're gonna say the closing ID, closing date, the selling price, right? And then we can say, you can also add the title if you want to. Now you can say the selling, we can say, we can say uh greater, greater 2000, and we can say greater, greater 30,000 and less than 10,000. So let's see what we're gonna get. So that's how you're gonna mix. I don't have anything that matches. So let's go back and make it. I will say, let me see what we have under the closing. So greater. So greater and less than. Let's check this now. Click the query design. I don't have anything that matches. So let's see if we're gonna say. So here the all works with the price that you asked for. Right? So let's do again. So we can say greater 30. So we have, so we're gonna say 30, 1, 2, 3. And and less than 40,000. 6 zeros. Let's check it. So that satisfies what you asked for. 372,000, right? So your condition was greater 30, 300,000 and less than for 40, $400,000, right? So you can use something like this. Now, if you go to the closing here and you wanna find all the closings between May 15 and May 31st. So you're gonna put between in capital, between 5-15 2027 and in capital 531. So between, I want to find all the closing between May 15 and May 31st. All right. So let's see. I don't have anything that fall under that condition. So let's say if I say for for between 428 and 430 April, in between these, you see. So 28 between April 28 and 4 April 30th. You have 28, 29, 30, and so on. All right. So if you want to save it, you can do so. If you don't, just I will close it. And I'm not gonna save it. Next is sorting. In some queries, the order in which the record appears is irrelevant. All you need to be concerned about the record that appears in the results. It doesn't matter which one is first or which one is last, right? So in this case, we can open this query here that we did last, the MO2Q07, double click to open in a datasheet view to see the record there. Then click on the design. So you can click here and then design view. So you are in a datasheet view, design, all right? Now we will clear the grid, the design grid. So to clean the design and the grid, you will hold the shift key and until you see the down black arrow where the gray is, so click on it, and then you can hit delete from your keyboard or you can hit delete from here, right? So if it doesn't, just hit delete from your keyboard. Okay? It took it off. Now, after we cleaned it, now what we want to do is that we want to add closing ID. Double click it. We are looking for the new loan amount. Double click it. And then we are looking for the purchasing mortgage company ID, right? Now, when you run this, let me do it again. So double click this, then go to the design and then clean the row. Select the first, then hold the shift key and click on the buyer ID. When you see all been cleaned, highlight it in dark, then hit the delete from your keyboard, or you can delete the column from here too. See? Now to sort the data in a query, so double click the closing ID. We need the new loan amount and we are looking for purchasing. All right. So let's run the query. Now these are not sorted. You see, I'm getting the 492,000 first, right? So the 230 should be in the top. Let's go back to the design view. Now you will go here. The third row under the design grid is sort. You will click the drop down and you will select ascending or descending. So we are looking for ascending, right? Now run the query. You see what we got and what was the previous one I show you. So the smallest, then the largest. Now, if you want to get the largest, then the smallest, you will go back here and then you're gonna say descending wise. Right? So we're gonna go back. So you can hit the pencil and the ruler to get to the design. And then we want ascending or run it. Now we have to save it because see, no, you don't need to save. You have to go to save as because we are using the MO2Q07. So if you hit the save, then whatever was in the MO2Q0 will override by this one. We don't want to do that. So I don't want to lose that query. So go to File, Save As, save the object, click on Save As. Now this time I will take off the copy off and I will replace this by 8. 7 by 8. So now I did not mess up with this or 7. Whatever I did in also is still going to be intact. Now the next is to omit the data, the duplication. How to omit duplicates. When you sort, the data duplicate normally are included in the query, right? So what if you wanna eliminate the duplicate using the query property? So we have to use the query property sheet to get rid of the duplication, right? So to do that, what we wanna do is we're gonna open the same one, the M, right? The MO2. Now we have to go to the design and then what we want to do is we will remove everything until you see a down black arrow and then delete from the keyboard. So this time I'm gonna be using new loan amount. Double click it. Right now let's run it. As you see, I have 325,000 twice. So I want to omit the duplication. Right. So to do that, we're gonna go back to the design. And then this time you see here under the show and hide, there is a property sheet here above the table name. Click on it. And then you will go to the empty cell You see, in the right of the new loan amount. And then what you need is you will go to where it says in the property sheet, look for unique values, and then you will click. Now by default is no. So unique values, yes. Now run the query. So I can see only 325 only one time. All right. So that's how you remove any duplication, and you don't want the value to be repeated again. So you have to go to the white column, the empty column, and then you have to activate the property sheet, and then you have to look for unique values, yes, and then run it. Now we have to save this one, but we have to go to file, save as, save object as, save as, and then we're gonna delete, and then we have to change the 8 to 9. Click OK. So the next topic is to sort on multiple keys. So the problem is that if you are sorting multiple keys, right, what's going to happen that in Access, the major key must appear to the left of the minor key. So if you have a column that you want to sort alphabetically, but the other one also you want to sort alphabet, the one in the right will have is going to have less effect as compared to the one in the left hand side. Access is always gonna go with the major key that appears in the left as compared to the minor key, which is in the right hand side, right? So let's do that. We will go now, we will close this, create, query design, and then we're gonna go to the table. Now you can close the property sheet pane, double click the closing. I will stretch it so I can see all the name of the columns in the table closing. All right, I can move these design grid a little bit up. Now we need the closing ID, double click it. We're looking for closing date, double click it. We are looking for purchasing, double click it. And we are looking for new loan. All right, now I want to sort by two keys, multiple keys, right? So I want this to be ascending, and at the same time I want the new loan amount also to be sorted. So now what Access is going to do, the key that is in the left will be more powerful than to the one in the right hand side. So Access always will sort the record by the major key that appears in the left of the minor key. So this is your minor, this is your major key. All right, so let's check it. As you see, according to this, the 230 should be in the top and the loan was in the right hand side. You said ascending wise, right? So Microsoft Access will always follow the sorting that you apply to the left, which is the major key. It's going to be the major key, the one in the left as compared to the right. All right. So we need to save this one. We will hit the floppy disk from the quick access toolbar, and I will call this one M02Q10, and then we will close it. We will save it. Now the next one we want to do is we're gonna create a top value query by using this one, right? So by using the MO2Q10, we're gonna create another kind of query that we call top top value top values query, right? So what is this actually? Rather than show all the result of the query, you might want to show only a specific number of record or percentage of the record. So why do we need to do that? You might not need to see all the record, just enough to get the general idea of the results. So creating a top value query allow you to restrict the number of record that appears, right? When you sort the records. You can limit the result to those record with the highest, which is the descending sort, or the lowest, which is the ascending sort values, right? So let's create a top values query, right? So we only want to see the top instead of getting everything, right? So, so let's get to the design. Click the down arrow, design view. So what we want to do now in this case, we will leave it. Now we will leave it ascending on this. So ascending means that you want to set the lowest, right? Values. Now, as you see here, the return by default in excess is what? All. Show me everything, right? So what if you want to get the highest or the lowest value? Some of it instead of 20, 30, 40. I don't want that. Just I want to get the top 5 or 10. All right. So to do that, we will do it this way. So we will go to all, right? And then we in the return box, we can also type 2, right? 2. So we type 2 in the return box, might access 25. So delete the 5. To ensure only we want to see the 2 is listed to specify the query result should contain only the 2 rows. So delete the 5. All right. Now run it. So I got the 2 with the lowest. Okay. You see? Now we got to display only the first 2 records. All right. So we can go back and then we can also do this one here, descending, and then we're gonna say return 3 of them. Okay. But the problem is that access is sorting by this one, right? So let's go back and let's do this one also, descending. And I want to return the top 3 with the highest. Right? So we can go back. And what if we say not sort by the purchase mortgage, but just descending? Give me the highest for the new loan amount. And I can say give me only 2 of them. So it should only give us 2 of them. Let me try to do ascending. So when we did ascending with only two, it took the two lowest. Now let's go back. Let's do descending. It give us the top two, right? So in this case, we're gonna save this. So we are gonna go to File, Save As, Save Object, Save As, and then you will delete the copy of. You will go here, change it to 11, click OK. Now we will close this. The next topic is joining, how to join multiple tables. Up till now, we were just asking question from a single table, right? So what if you wanna join multiple table to ask the question from? So joining tables. Yeah, right. That's the next topic in a query. How to join the tables using the queries. So to do that, we have, so if you have determined that you need to join the table in a query, you first will bring the field list for both tables to the upper pane of the query window while working in a design view, right? So let's do that. Let's show you practically what the joining is. So the first thing, we will go to Create, Query Design. Now we will double click, go to the table tab section of the tab of the tables. Double click the closings and double click the properties, right? As you see that is already been what? Joined. This is the join line, right? So how they joined? There should be what we call uh, a unique field that is in both table. So property ID. So these two guys is in the same is like in the two table, right? So that's why is access automatically detected that this is the two field where these two table will be joined, right? So once you are here, so this is your join line, right? So from the closing table, we need the closing ID. We are looking for the closing date. We are looking for the property ID from the properties table. We are looking for the property street. And we are looking for the seller ID. All right. So once you have done that, and then also we wanna do sort. We wanna sort the closing date by ascending. And then we want to sort the property street. So once you have done that, we will now run it. That's what you got. You got information coming from two tables, right? You get information from the closings and the properties, right? Now let's save this query. We will go to the floppy disk in the top, or you can use the file and save. Now we will call this closings and properties. So we are not going to be closing because I have to use the next exercise. Now, what if you want to change the joint properties now? There's a property under the line that you have seen in the design of the query. So normally, records that do not match the query condition do not appear in the results of a joint query. Only you're gonna see the record that matches these two. So if I have information from both tables, then the information will be displayed, right? So what we are saying here is that records that do not match the query conditions do not appear in the result of the joint query. For example, not all the properties appears in the results. Why? Not all properties currently have a closing date associated with them. That's why Access will not show you those unless you go to the join line and do right click on it. Select the line first until it becomes dark, right click, then join properties, right? So we have some properties here that we cannot change. So we can pull up those which we were not able to see them, right? Now the first one option include only record that matches from both tables. This first option here. The second option include all record from the closing table. And the third one is option to include all record from the properties table, right? So if you do the second one and then you click OK, now let's run it. Not different. So the first and the second one is not gonna give us a bunch of changes there. It's gonna be the same because the first one option is to include all record that matches from both table. The second option is to include all the record from the closing tables, not the properties table, right? So we will click the join again and then right click join properties. Now let's get to the third one. Include all record from the properties and only those record from the closing where the join field are equal. Now let's say you see these two in the top here, they don't have a closing. That's why Access did not show us with the first two option, right? But if you still want to see those record which doesn't have any information in the closing table, but still you pull those information. So you have to go to the join line properties and then you have to choose the third option. You will select this, right click, join properties, and then the third one, right? So if you want to save this one, you could go to File, Save As, Save Object, Queries and Object of a database. So we can say closing properties 2 and then close it. Now, if you want to change it back, you don't want this, you can go back. You can select the line. First click on the line until it becomes dark, right click, join, and then you can include here the first one. And then now I'm not gonna see those empty record regarding the closing date and the closing ID. Only I will see the one that matches both the table. So close it, save the changes. Now, the next one is to restrict the record in a joint. So this one, you could use both the table, but still you can use your comparison operators. You can use your compound, anything you want, whatever you learned in the previous exercise, you can use it here. So to restrict the records in a join, so let's open the closing and the properties that we did earlier. Get to the design. All right. Now, what we can do, we will go to so we need the closing ID, closing date, properties, and we need everything from here. So we are restricting now. What we are restricting is the closing date under the criteria after April 28, 2027. So show me the closing ID, the closing date, property ID, property street, and the seller ID of those closing date who is after April 28. Run the query. These are the ones with the address, the 29th and the 30th. All right. So if you want to save this one, we will go here, although the book doesn't save it. So I'm gonna save it. Save. Then we will go and save. And then we're gonna say this one is to restrict records in a join. Right? Now the next is to create a report from a query. What if your boss says, okay, you find the information, now create a report of those findings, right? Now to do that, we're gonna use this one here. But first we need to change it. So let's go to view and then go to design and then click on the joint, right click on it, joint properties, and then they want the third option to be visible for this one, closing and properties, a query that we created earlier. Now run it so that we cannot see those who does not have any records in the closing table, but still I want to see those record that's in the property table. All right. Now let's save it. Now let's close it. So now we will select this one and then let's go to create. We're gonna use the query, the report. The second last group is report wizard. And then because we already selected the closing and property, that's why is already the query been selected. If not, then you have to go here and find the one you want to use. Now in this case, we want everything, so you can click the two greater sign, right? Or you can just double click it one after the other like this. See? And then hit next. And then hit next. We don't need to do any kind of sorting, so hit next. Then we wanna leave it as tabular. The layout would be tabular. And then we will use landscape and then next, and then we have to give it a name. So we're gonna say uh, report. So we're gonna enter report. So actually, we need to add the report word. So it's gonna say closings, and so don't change the name, okay? Just add report with it. Then hit finish. So closings and properties report. So you get the report done. All right. So now close the property, the report. If you want to get the report back, have a look in the report section. And then we have the closing report. That's what you created. Now close it from the tab to close the report. Now, if you want to print the report, obviously, so you will have to go to the file, print, and then you will hit print, and then whatever you want to print, right? Or you can go to file, print, print preview, and then if you think everything is perfect, then hit the print to print the closing and the property report and give it to your boss. All right. So I will hit close. Now the next one is to create a form for a query. So the following step in my video is to show you how you will create the form which will be available for the future use in viewing and maintaining the data in a query, right? And instead of opening the query, we will have the form if we want to add something to the query, right? So to do that, be sure that you click on the query closings and properties, and then we will go to create, and then we will go to the group that says forms, and then we're gonna click on form. The form is created, as you see. Now we are in a layout view. If you look at the view here, you will click the view. As you see, we are in a layout view. The layout view is just like if you wanna boldface, if you wanna shrink the boxes, so you can do so, right? So if you can also go to the navigation here, in the navigation and you navigation button, and you can click the play button to show you the record you have. Like, you see, I can go here, I can go to the beginning, right? So if you want to view the form, you will go here, form view. Now your cursor is blinking there, and then if you want to add a new record, you will hit the play with the star with the yellow to add a new blank record. So if you want to add a new record, you can just click the last play button with the orange star. All right. If I want to go to the second, third, four, five, six. If I want to go to the beginning, all right. Now we want to close it, save it, and then we will add form. So that will be added in the category form, closing and property form. All right. So the next one is now exporting data from Access to another application. So as you know, Microsoft Access is the brother and sister of Microsoft Word, Excel, right? So anything that you have done in Access, you can import it to Excel. So what if your boss wants you to import the query that you created in Excel? So you want to import the data to Excel. To do that, we want to do the closing one. So be sure to select that. And then you're going to go to External Data tab. And then this time you are not going to import. You're going to be exporting. Export as what? Excel. And then it's going to ask you where you want to save it. So it's going to be saving under the document. And then we want to format as Excel, XLS. And then export the data with the formatting and layout. So be sure that you choose this. You want to export the data with the formatting and layout that you have. Then click OK. No need to save the export steps, and now close it. Now let's go to your File Explorer folder on the taskbar, and then go to Document. Now in the document you should see your Excel file. You see here, closing and properties. So double click it. It's gonna open Excel, and here you go. Whatever you have done in Access is now in Excel, and the boss can do the comparison and everything he asked for regarding the closing and the properties. All right. So we're gonna close it. File. All right. I will close my doc. Now I'm back to my Access. So the next one is now we gonna import a table. We need to import a table from a data file folder. So let's do that. Let's go to external data, which we are already there, and then import. And then we're gonna import from a database. Click on from database, then access. Then we have to hit browse. We have to go to the downloads. Then I need to go to find my download. That's the second chapter. Double click it, modules, and then we wanna get this one, support SO2 partner extra table. Click open, and then the next one we want, okay. Now in this case, we will go and then we did the new source we import from a database, right? Now we have to click the browse, and we went to the extra table, and then we need to select the partner extra database, right? And then it is gonna open the import tables, queries, and so on, right? So we need the tables, right? So if not, we will click import tables, right, into the current database. So let's see, so we need only this. So click OK. select, and then close. All right. So we selected the closing fees. Now we need to do calculations now. In a special calculation is required for a query, you need to determine whether the calculation is an individual record calculation, for example, adding the value into two fields for one record, or a group of calculation, for example, finding the total of the values in a particular field on all the records. So to do that, what we're gonna do in this case, we will select the closing fee table, and then we're gonna go to create query design, and then we're gonna add the query, the closing fee table, and let's stretch it down and see what we have. Then I will close this. Now from here we want the settlement sheet, double click it, the closing ID, double click it. We want the selling agent commission, double click it. We want the buyer agent commission, double click it. Right. Now we will go to the empty column in the right of the buying agent, and then we're gonna do right click and then look for zoom. Click on the zoom box, and then here we're gonna type the formula. So I will go here, I will zoom it a little bold face so you can see well. Now you will say I want to find out the total commission. So these variables, these columns are not in my table. I'm just creating it right now while I'm in the query. So equal is not used, colon, then open the square bracket. So you have to be sure that you type these sales agent commission as it is, okay? You cannot capitalize it, has to be the same way. Plus, open a new square bracket and type buying. It has to be the same because this is the column name that you have it in the closing fee table. And then close it. Now you have to tally this. Did you write it down? This one can be anything you can type here, right? The answer of the selling agent commission plus this will be saved under the total commission. So, but this is very important. The field inside the square bracket is very important. So you have to tally a selling, spelling, and everything has to be right. All right, then click OK. Now the total commission is being added as a new column. All right, now this is the formula. You can stretch it to see what you've done. All right, now let's run it. So it means that if you get something like this, it means that something is missing. So cancel it. Let's see here again. Selling agent commission. See, I forgot one S. That's why. So that's what I told you. If you see anything pops on what you see on the screen in a dialog box, that means you did wrong. So again, commission. Now let's check it. Boom. See? It done. So it gave us the total commission. So once you get the total commission, the next now, what if you want to change some of your caption to change the caption, all right? So let's go back to the design of the query, and then we will need the property sheet. Now click on this, which is the seller agent, right? So instead of being selling agent commission, we can just give it as the caption as selling space commission, right? And then we will go to the buying agent commission, and I will just put a caption there as buying space commission, right? Now let's run the query. As you see that we have a new caption now, right? That look perfect. Now let's save this query, and I will call this one M02Q13. So we're gonna call it 12. They call it 13. Now the next one we wanna call it is okay. The next one is to calculate the statistics. For a group calculation, Microsoft Access supports several built-in stats. The statistics count to count of the number of records, sum for total, average for average. Maximum is to find the largest value. Minimum means the smallest value. Then we have STDiv, which is the standard deviation. Then we have VAR, which is variance, right? So to create a stats here, what we need is we want to go with a new query. So we're going to close this one. Create, query design. And then we want to pull up the closing fee. And then close this property sheet. You don't need it anymore. You can close the table after you added the closing fee. I can stretch the column, the table. Yeah. Now from here, we want to choose the attorney fee. Once we select the attorney fee, then we will go to group by. So the group by actually is under the show and hide group, under the design query, and then click on the total, the sigma sign of the total, click on it. The moment you clicked it, it's gonna be group by, right? So you will click the group by and then choose what you want. These are the sum, these are the function. So we're gonna say we wanna find the average right? We said average. So find the average of the attorney fee. Run it. This is what we got, 212.75, right? You can stretch the column. Average of the attorney fees, all right? Now let's get back to the design, all right? And then what we want to do next, I will also get the attorney fee. We have the attorney fee and the attorney fee, right? So we want to also do the attorney fee. Go to the second attorney fee, group by, click the group by, and then click the down arrow. Where what? In the criteria, you will say where is it greater than 200, all right? Now run it. You got the average where the attorney fee is greater 200, right? So we're gonna save this, and then we're gonna call this M02Q14. Now the next one is to use grouping. Grouping means creating a group of records that share some common characteristics, right? For example, if you have the state Maryland and all the record would be combined under Maryland, right? So for example, another example is that suppose that you have a student named Sadiq, and then he have multiple courses and their fees. So what I want to do is I want to group all the fees of Sadiq and Summit. So when I will run the query, it's gonna say Sadiq, and the total fee or the sum of the fee is $1,000. Instead of showing me all the fees one after the other, I will add up, or I can find the average and so on. So in this case, to use the grouping, we will create a new query design. We will use the closing table. Now close the add table. I will stretch it down the table so I can see all the field inside the closing table. Now we need the new loan amount. Double click it, and then we need the purchase mortgage. Purchasing mortgage company. Double click it. Right now, let's run and let's see what we're gonna see now. So you see here, I have MO2 twice, right? So I can group the MO2 into one. So 492,325, right? So we can do like this. Let's go back. So what we're gonna do in this case, I will say give me the group by. So hit the total. As soon as you see total, a new row will be added, total and group by, right? So what you need to do in this case, we want to find the new loan average, and then purchasing mortgage company ID. We want to say group by, right? Group by. Now let's run it. Now in this case, did you notice this? I had two averages. So it says 408, right? It combines the two because they share the same characteristics. Now let's see with the total. If you go back here to design, then we're gonna say, I will take out first the group by. So if you don't want the group by, you can just click on the total again. Now if you look here, MO2 and MA2, one is 492,000, the other one is, so it should be around 8 something, right? So let's check it. So you will go here, you will say, give me the sum. So sorry, you will go first here, go to the total to get the group by. And then you said, I want these to be the sum and group by the purchasing mortgage company ID. Now let's check it. Look at this one here. The two values that we had, the 392,000 and the 230, I guess. So that was combined and the total is now 817,000. All right. Very interesting. So you group those records who share the same characteristics. All right. Now you can also do this. You can go here and you can say where what m dash 002. I want to find the sum of that. All right. Let's check it. So we can't make this two. Now here look. 817000. All right. So I will take it off. I will change it to what it was. Now let's run it. We grouped all the records and the ones that share the same characteristics, they've been grouped together to find the sum. You see the sum here? So we have to change it to average. The drop down, average. All right. Now we're gonna hit the save from the floppy, the quick access toolbar, and we're gonna call this M02Q15 and click OK. Now the last one for the queries is the cross tab. So the next in line is gonna be the cross tab query. The query, right? So a cross-tab query or simply a cross-tab calculate the statistics, for example, the sum, the average, or the count for a data that is grouped by two different types of information. So one of the types will appear down the side of the resulting data sheet and the other will appear across the top. So the cross-tab queries are useful for summarizing the data by category or group, right? So let's do that. So to do that, we're gonna go to create, and then we're gonna go to the queries group. This time we're gonna go to the query wizard, and then the second is cross tab query wizard. Click OK. Now from here, we have to choose now. So in this case, we're gonna use the closing table, and then click next. Now the next one here says which field value do you want as a row? We want the mortgage purchasing. We want for purchasing mortgage to be the field as a row heading. So click the greater sign to edit. As you see here, they will be represented in a row. Then next, which field value do you want as the column heading? The one will be in the top. So in this case, we're gonna use the title company. The title company will be in the top, and the row will be the purchasing mortgage company ID. Then hit next. Now next says what number do you want to calculate for each columns and row, right? We're looking for the new loan amount. That's the guy I wanna find the sum of. So the function will be sum. So what number do you want calculated for each column and row intersection, which is the new loan amount, and I want to find the sum across the column and the row. After that, then hit next. Then we're gonna leave it as closing underscore close tab. That will be the name of the query. There is no more next. Hit finish. As you see, the top of the query will be the title. See, armor title, perfect title, and record title, right? And then the row will be represented by the purchasing mortgage company ID, right? And then we want to find the sum of the new loan amount. So whatever the loan amount is for this one is only 325. Then these two company, which is the purchasing is M-002, right? He have an amount with perfect title and record title. So these two were sum up together and we have 817,000. Whereas the M003 has only a loan amount of 230 with the perfect title company. So that's why the total is just 230, right? So this is the cross tab. Save the changes. When you hit X here, be sure to save what you have done. Now the next is to customize the navigation pane. So the following step is gonna help to change the organization of the navigation pane. They are also use the search bar to restrict the objects and that appears. So to do that, you see here we have the search here, and then we have anything you want. Like for example, if you wanna search, you will go here, and if you want only the tables instead of object type, so you can say table. So these are all the tables, right? So You can go back here and then you can say, you can go here and then you can say all access. So I can see everything now. Now, if you want to search PR to restrict only to see the PR. So these are the tables and queries that has something about the property. See, you got one table properties, then you have three or four. It should be three because this one is just an additional one we created. Remember the property two. You can delete it if you don't want it. And then we have closing and properties. Somehow you have used the PR, which is the property. And then also you have used the property table to create a report, right? And then you can also use the shuttle bar to close the navigation pane, or you can stretch it. Click the shuttle bar again to open it. So if you're done with this, you can just clear the searching and you can see all what you have done today. So these are all the queries that we ask question from different tables, right? So I hope that you learn how to use the queries in a database, and you need to practice. And I hope that you learn a lot from this video. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. Be sure to like my channel so I can make more nice videos like this, and also videos related to Microsoft Access to help you master Microsoft Access 2021 and so on. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.